Have you or a loved one ever wondered, are you safe to drive?
Sometimes the signs are subtle: slower reaction time, drifting into other lanes, or feeling overwhelmed in traffic.
So today we're going to talk about how to self-assess your driving ability to see if you are still safe and independent behind the wheel.
And today we have Pat. She's an occupational therapist and has many years of doing this at a professional level. So she's going to really give us some good information.
Bob and Brad, the two most famous physical therapists on the internet.
So first we're going to take a look at some things that you can self-assess about your own driving.
Or, as a matter of fact, you can do that with a parent, perhaps, as you observe how they do drive, just so you have an idea where a baseline is.
One thing you want to look for is any kind of limitation in the neck or trunk. You want to be able to look both directions, and if you can't, they can compensate with rotating the trunk so they can look over for cars coming this way or cars coming that way.
I will admit that some newer cars at least have the flashers on the mirrors if cars are there and you're trying to get into the next lane, which could be beneficial if you are someone that really struggles with that.
Right. And they got the back of the rear view video backing up. So there's really a lot of benefits as long as the person is able to figure it all out without getting overwhelmed.
Right, with all the beeps and the flashing lights.
Yes.
So the other thing is, do you have any pain in your shoulders with reaching, grabbing doors, things like that? How about pain in your hip where it hurts every time you go to brake or to switch over to hit the gas? Or your knees or feet pain? If you're having trouble, again, all those nice things are in your car where you can have cruise control. And sometimes there's automatic seat belts now.
Sure.
You get in the car and they do lock your seat belt for you.
And I think someone with neuropathy, particularly, below the knees, where they're having some tactile limitations, they can't feel the pedal, the gas pedal or the brake pedal. That's going to be a major thing.
That's dangerous, yes.
Yeah, so
yes.
If they got neuropathy, it's a red flag.
Yes.
And oftentimes after surgeries, your physician won't let you drive for a while until you are so far along so you can actually be safe and coordinate. And that can be specifically your right leg, or, well, I guess if you're in the U.S., it might be different in other countries, or your arm as well, because oftentimes they want you to be able to use both arms.
Right.
One good indication is parking. When you have to back up into a stall, parallel parking, all those are very complicated, particularly if there's a lot going on around you. There's traffic coming this way, that way. People are waiting for you, perhaps getting you nervous, making it even a more complicated task. All that is the ability to do things under pressure, and that's a big thing, so that needs to be looked at. And if it's a problem, they may not be ready to, or they may not want to continue to drive.
Another thing to self-assess is if you drift into other lanes or out of your lane. Now, this can be in city driving or highway driving. Oftentimes, if you're on a highway or interstate, at least around here, you will feel a rumble if you start drifting. That's to prevent people from falling asleep while driving. But if you constantly notice you are doing that, or a loved one, then it may be something more serious to get checked out.
Do you avoid traffic, and do you drive certain times of the day so you don't become overwhelmed? That might be a problem.
Yeah, I often hear people don't like big city driving.
Yes.
They often just drive in their small towns, and that's a good sign to realize, but just make sure you are still safe driving in your smaller towns as well.
And others don't like driving in the highway, the main highways. They'll take the smaller back roads to get from town to town.
Right. And all these things happen usually with the aging process, but I know some people in their 40s and 50s who they don't like to drive at night anymore because their vision has changes and their confidence level drops down and don't feel comfortable for it. So the idea is that if you're aware of what you're not comfortable in, you can avoid it. Is that a bad thing, Pat?
To avoid it?
Yeah, avoid what you're not comfortable, but keep driving in
Yeah.
the situations that you are comfortable.
Right. You want to keep driving in the situations you're comfortable.
Right.
Yeah. So one other thing I didn't have on my list is night driving. Sometimes older people, the lights reflect in the eyes a lot harsher than younger
sure.
people, and that could affect oncoming traffic, knowing where your lane is if you don't have one of those lane minders. So, and the last task is, have others commented on your driving? Has anybody said, "Oh, slow down," or "Oh, you're close over there"?
I'll sometimes say pay attention, but that's more younger people playing on their phones, unfortunately. So, but yes, people commenting on your driving is maybe a key to notice. Like maybe you do rush things too much, or you're not paying attention enough, or your reaction time has slowed. So those are all important things to look at.
Well, my father always commented on my driving, and I wasn't doing very well, so it was kind of the inverse. But
Backseat drivers.
no, he had good cause for sure. I was a little more aggressive than he appreciated. But Pat, so what if any of these things are, red flags coming up when people are, a loved one or yourself is like, God, I'm not sure if I'm safe to drive or not. I'll give you an example. My mother was getting to that point, and what happened with her, she pulled out in front of a car doing 55. That was a T-bone. It hit the front of the car. Luckily, nobody was injured. Both cars were totaled. But, she decided, to quit driving after that.
Which was a good choice.
Right. So before that, maybe... we weren't around very much, all of us kids, to actually witness how she was driving. How can people get tested? I mean, can you go to like an occupational therapist? They'll test your vision, your coordination, and your cognition ability?
Exactly. That's what I do with the people I see. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. That tells you that they may have a cognitive deficit or a visual limitation. Like after a stroke, sometimes people can't see. Their peripheral vision is affected, or one side is completely affected. After I do my testing, I cannot take a license away, and I have physicians I've worked with that will not take the license away, even though I have cognitive and visual concerns. So we refer them to a driving evaluation center where an occupational therapist does a full-blown evaluation. They have simulated driving situations with the movie camera or whatever.
Okay, so it's simulated.
It's simulated,
inside.
but I think they also look at like the camera's looking at their vision. Are they, looking this way and that way? So there's a lot of different
It's pretty
things.
technical.
Yeah, and it's like a car, and that's a simulated situation for that occupational therapist. You could also, before you go into that, maybe go into a quiet parking lot and see if you can stay centered. We are fortunate that we have the Southwest Technical College here, and there's a driving thing for trucks. And I used to take all my boys there. My girl didn't have to, but all my boys and practice driving and parking there. So.
She's talking about her children, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes. Not these boys. Anyway, if you're having trouble, you can get some driving education to improve that. There's places through either driver's ed or through the occupational therapy.
And I would imagine there are not a lot of facilities
No.
that have that kind of equipment.
Right. The only one I'm aware of is in La Crosse, and I don't remember if it's Gunderson or the other one. It's got the new name.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, they changed names.
Amplify?
If you-
Amplify.
People
What?
watch from all over the country or world here, so just look up driving rehab specialists in your area and see if someone is close by, if you're looking for yourself or a loved one. I know oftentimes if you're over a certain age, too, they offer driving courses you can take because oftentimes your insurance rates go up, and if you go to those classes,
You can
definitely get a discount, so that's an option as well. But what are some other things we want to talk about here?
So, Pat, what do you do when you feel the person's not safe to convince the individual you're not safe? Not only you're putting yourself at danger, but someone else. Does that become quite a challenge?
It is a challenge. Again, I can only do so much testing, and if the doctor, and I can tell the doctor, but the doctor that I've worked with did not feel it was his position to take it away.
Right.
So, unfortunately, one of my patients did end up dying in a situation where he was unsafe, and that was most unfortunate.
Sure.
But at this point, I talk to family or to the patient if there's no family, but encourage them to take them down to La Crosse to get that driving evaluation.
Right.
Because if they're not safe, they should not be behind
Sure.
the wheel, you know.
Sure.
And then I try to make scenarios like, what if there was a child, you know, and
Right.
you hit a child.
Yep.
You know, most people would feel pretty
Right.
horrible with that.
And it's realistic. It's
Yeah.
not like it's a rare event, you know. So yeah, it's tough because people are independent all their life, and driving is a part of life, and you're taking away part of their independence.
Independence.
It's
That's
big,
exactly. And
right?
they get very angry with me. I'm used to it, but that's okay. You could go to get some therapy because, like, if it's visual perception, maybe there's a way to compensate for it. If it's your ability to do range of motion, they can maybe help stretch that neck or work on trunk rotation so you can compensate for
Sure.
that. If it's cognitive, you need to kind of figure out what part of the cognition
Yeah.
is it and how do you compensate for that.
That's a tough one.
I
Yeah.
actually talked to a dementia specialist, and he said sometimes people are driving and they kind of space out where they're going, and that may not be a sign of dementia. But if you are somewhere that you commonly live and you forget how to get home, then that can be
It's a
much
sign.
bigger problem. So.
Right. There are adaptive pieces of equipment you can have too, like to adapt the steering wheel, to adapt the brakes and the gas pedal, like an extension. There's hand controls.
Can't they just move the seat forward?
Sometimes you can move the seat forward and they still can't touch.
Oh, really?
I've had
So, like, what kind of things have you added? A spacer on a
like
a
that
pedal?
would be something. Now, I don't do it.
Yeah.
I have it done.
Yeah.
I tell them to have it done professionally.
Right.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
a good fit.
Yeah, but
properly.
there's different equipment out there. Again, if you go through a driving specialist, they'll have all those resources and what you would exactly need. Some people need like a grab bar now. A lot of the cars do have
Sure.
those, so you can get out of the car.
Yep.
Some people needed the elevated cushion so they can see over the top of the car. That one you don't want to just put a pillow in there. If you hit the brakes, you could slide. They do have car seats that are about 3 to 4 inches to raise you up, and it hooks behind the
Sure.
driving. If you have the, what do you call that, captain's chair type driving
Bucket seat.
bucket seat. The captain.
Brad's got it. I don't know what it's called.
So there is equipment to help compensate, but
Right.
it's hard to tell them what to get if you don't do the full-blown evaluation.
Sure,
Because then
sure.
you can determine what is it. Is it the physical limitations? Is it visual limitations that is in the way
Right.
or
And
reaction?
If you never use an assistive device and you go to the DMV to renew your license and you come in with a cane or walker, they're probably going to make you take a driver's test because they did to my grandpa.
Oh,
And
really?
he passed with flying colors, by the way,
He
when he was
did.
still alive, but he was pretty upset about it. I don't think you had a test back in his day to get your license. You just kind of signed up and got it.
Oh.
So, yeah. Just a word of caution, if you have using an assistive device now and you weren't before, that could be kind of another sign, like make sure you're coordinated enough to still drive. So.
Right.
All right. Anything else, Pat?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. So help is out there. You just have to. What would you look up if someone wants to Google something for a hospital? What would you type up on there?
Driving evaluations are safe driving evaluations by an occupational therapist in my area.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
because like I said, there's only one down in our area. Rochester has one, and then the cities has a few.
So there's a
So,
good chance within 2 to 3 hours of your location, you'll probably
find something.
Yeah, it's going to be a bigger city.
Right.
Sure.
If you want to check out another video on driving tips specifically about stretching or exercises for those who drive a lot, you can click the video link on the screen.
There you go. 7 stretches, exercises, tips for those who drive a lot.
Nice.
Bob and Brad, the two most famous physical therapists on the internet.